But I go back to when I was in California, and I saw up close when Kaepernick took the knee. And as coaching the team, you have sporting events going on. You sitting there saying, "Man, that's wrong." I understand. At least I understood why he was kneeling. It was injustice. It wasn't necessarily had anything to do with the flag. And then you sit there and say, "Well, you want to do something. You're angry by it." But I think for me, self-preservation took over from the standpoint you still want to provide for your family. You don't want to go too far out there. You never know what might happen. And for us, oftentimes, at least for guys I know in inner cities, you take care of more than just your immediate family. You're helping other people. And I just wasn't strong enough to do anything, but I felt it in my heart. And I think this time, and by the grace of God, and I say this with all due respect, the COVID virus has caused a lot of anxiety, stress, fear, death, a loss of jobs, a loss of homes, a lot of bad things. But I think if there's a plus in all of that, it allowed time to stop. So we can all see this and see it up close. And I think for any person with dignity, character, and just really believe in human rights, I don't know if you saw that incident with George and say, man, that was fair treatment. I think anybody with a sound mind, body, and soul would say that was murder. And at least that's the way I feel. So for me, it was just exhausting. It was a tough thing to watch, and I hate watching those things. And that's probably one of the few that I watched all the way through, and that was a hard thing for me to watch. I think this is a great country as far as resources and things that we have. You can be at the lowest level, humble beginnings, and have a chance to be a success story. That can happen in all walks of life, in any capacity in this country. Probably one of the few countries, the only country where you can do that. So I think we have all the things to be an elite country. But the racial tension has been going, you go back to the slave days. So that's been going on. So it's not as if what just happened to George is like, oh, everybody's shocked. This has been going on, especially against the Black race. So we've seen that. But I didn't deal with racism in East St. Louis, Illinois when I grew up, because East St. Louis was predominantly, if not 100% Black when I grew up. So I didn't deal with those issues. And that was a beautiful place for me growing up. I didn't have those issues. I had a great safe haven. We grew up in a project housing area. And that old saying, it takes a village to raise a child. And that's what it was. Everybody, whether you was down the street or here, everybody held you accountable. And that's what it was. So I didn't have those issues growing up. I didn't grow up in a diverse environment, whether it's white, Blacks, Hispanic, Native Americans, anything like that. I just grew up 100% Black. So that was my life. And then I was blessed to go to Purdue University. And I didn't experience anything. Now, oftentimes people say it's different when you're an athlete, and that's probably so, but I'm only speaking for me. I didn't experience anything negative from that standpoint. So, but as racism exists, yes. But my mom, she didn't raise us like that. She didn't raise us, see, here's Black and here's white. And I can speak for the guys that grew up in my neighborhood. It wasn't a case like that now. You have to understand, our parents grew up in the 60s, 50s, and they witnessed a lot of that, but they didn't raise us to hate and feel like that. I'm speaking for a lot of people that I grew up with. We never talked in those terms, like, I can't wait to get to that race. I can't wait to be there. That was never the talk. We were happy in our environment. Here in the last week or so, I've probably talked to at least 10 guys, 10 white guys that I consider friends. And I've talked to a lot of different people, but these are people that I know would say what I don't want to hear or what I need to hear in order for all of us to move forward. So I talked to those guys, just said, what do you think? And we talked about some real stuff. And as we move forward, we will work together because I believe in those people. Not that I agree with everything they said. Some of the stuff they hit me in the chest with, and it's real, and that's fine. But that's why I wanted to talk to them. But I think for me, as I talk to my sons as they've gotten older, one is 18 and one is 22, will be 19 and 23 here shortly. But I talk to them the same way I talk to my players. What you just said is the problem within itself, because you said to get out there and say something when you're talking about human rights. That should be normal conversation, and it really shouldn't even be talked about. That means the whole nation should pour on human rights. So that is the problem. If a coach is hesitant to speak on human rights, the mistreatment of, in most cases, young Black men and men of color, everybody should speak about that. So if you hesitate to speak about that, that is the problem within itself, and that's what has to be solved. But I'm not anymore, but I'm always going to be respectful to all walks of life, because I have friends of all nationalities. So I want to be respectful to all of that. So, but we have to address the situation. If I have a player on my team that's struggling with his shooting, let's work on the shooting. You address situations. We can't continue to run from it. And what we have to do more than anything, we have to be okay with somebody else having success, somebody else being able to eat and provide for their family. It has to be okay. There's nothing wrong with being equal. I'm not in your household every day, but I want, as a man, I like to be respected by my family. I like to be respected by my wife, to be able to provide for my family. That's all I'm asking you. I talk to our players about being police officers, because I think that is one of the toughest jobs. And I think it's between police officers, school teachers, ministers, priests, Catholics. I think those are high-level jobs. Those are, in my opinion, the most powerful positions in our country, because they impact all walks of life 24/7, nonstop. And the community leans on all three of those entities. They have to be paid at the right level, and they have to work at the highest level, because, again, we need them. And I think what happens with sport, I think the sports will change our country. When you're in locker rooms, the camaraderie, the relationships, you don't see color. I have teammates I stay in touch with this day. He just, we're talking to him. You look at him, he's white, he's black. I don't sit there and say, well, let me talk to the white guy today. Man, that was my teammate. We went to battle together. So I was never that type of person. I do think sports help, and I think sports will help us propel in the next 20 plus years. But I think with school teachers, we have to give them the resources they need to be successful, because they do a tremendous job, and it's a very exhausting job. And oftentimes in those inner city communities, what we have to understand, the kids are probably not getting the same level of tutelage and teaching when they get home. So we have to understand that, and we have to help in that area too. We can't sit there and say, well, it's not my fault, it's mom and dad. Let's stay away from that. Let's help that situation. And I think our police officers are a high power position. And I have many friends, and I try to stay away from saying that to justify what I'm saying. But that position, in my opinion, has to be treated like the Navy SEALs and trained at that level, academically trained as a scholar, because of precision. One mistake can cost a life. And like my mom said, the word sorry cannot bring my son back. And I think we have to help those police officers do the best job possible. So whatever it is on my part that I can help, I'll do it. We have to help them do the best job they can. Yes, it does. It does. It feels different, at least for me, because and God willing, if I'm on this earth for a long time, because I pray to be able to see grandkids if my children desire. I want to be a part of, not to say I'm hitting my chest to say I didn't know, but I was a part of, I was in the trenches. I was part of the change along with a nation of people. So it shouldn't be, the problem is if somebody says that guy changed it, we have a problem. You shouldn't be able to identify one. It should be millions. We have a billion of people. It should be, and I don't know who did it. It was a nation. Well, are we sitting there battling? Man, the state of Minnesota, they were better than the state of Illinois. The state of Illinois was better than, that's what it should be. Who worked the hardest to create change? And I'll leave you with this, because I think it's important. I've done a lot of studying on different leaders, and one of the guys I've admired so much, Dr. Martin Luther King, and he talked about, what is your life's blueprint? And he always said you need a sound blueprint. And three things he talked about: a deep belief in your own dignity and your own worth. Don't allow anybody to make you feel like you're worthless. Always feel like you're somebody. Always feel like you have worth. Always feel like you're significant. The other thing he talked about, you have to have the determination to achieve excellence at the highest level. And that's very important. And he said you have to do a job so well that the living, the dead, and the unborn cannot do it any better. And the last thing he talked about, we all have to have a commitment to the eternal principles of beauty, love, and justice. Now, in all of that I just said, I never once mentioned a color or race outside of Dr. Martin Luther King. And the last thing, one of Langston Hughes' poems, if you cannot fly, then run. If you cannot run, then walk. If you cannot walk, then crawl. But by all means, get there. And that's what we have to do as a nation. We got to get there.